Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dimes with Dara and the Joy Slot podcast, brought to you by IrishSportsDaily.com. I am Greg Flamong, and that is Dara Mabry. Dara isn't hungry. She's hopefully she's not hungry. It's kind of late for her. It's about dinner time for you, Dara. Oh, wait, you're cooking dinner. That's right. You told me before you were cooking dinner. Got some chicken, some carrots in the oven. It's lovely. Sounds delightful. So we're while that's cooking, we're gonna pod about some Notre Dame women's basketball. Listen, the vibes have been better. I think is safe to say. But we're gonna talk about all of that. We're gonna talk about the vibes. We're gonna talk about what it's like to be on a team that was flying high and now is kind of struggling to find itself, right? And if you've been in that position, and I think a lot of people who are listening to this show have been in that position if they play sports. So we're going to talk about that, what you're seeing from the ladies, kind of what's going on there, right? I think it's kind of hard to it's hard to come to grips with how they were playing versus how they're playing now. So we'll try to get some clarity on that. And then we'll talk about the upcoming tournament and how things stand. So thank everyone for tuning in today. If you like what you hear, please hit that like button. Please hit subscribe. Please hit the notification bell. So whatever it is, we are doing a live show. Links to the podcast are in the description below. And Dara, I usually do the ESQ ad read, but today we're going with VSR Media, founded by Notre Dame Football pregame host and Emmy Award-winning anchor Vahid Sadrazadeh. You know Vahid, right?
Yes.
You know yeah, you've done some stuff with him. VSR Media provides professional and cinematic video and photo. Whether you're looking for a collegiate or pro-level highlight reel, have a personal story to tell, or aiming to diversify and grow your business, VSR Media specializes in short and long-form video storytelling, social media management, website design. VSR Media also captures professional headshots, senior and sports photos. Contact them at vsrmediacompany.com. Mention Irish Sports Daily to receive 20% off your first project. Visit them online or give them a call at 574-800-9106. All right, Dara. First of all, how are you doing? How are things with you and the basketball for you? You posted some photos on the Instagram. There's one where you're looking very incredulously at a referee. I love it. But how are you doing? How are things?
Great. We have one more regular season game left this Sunday at home, which is a big one. Will determine a lot for the postseason. So it's really exciting. Hungry is great. It's treating me well. I am hungry, and the house smells delightful right now. Delightful.
Stunting. You got your sister Marina. Has she taught you the is this
chef.
Is your this cooking gonna go up on the YouTubes or on the internet? So we're just gonna talk about it.
It should. No, we can't just talk about it because I don't know if Under Armour has made a chef hat and an apron for any other athlete that they've wrecked. I am almost positive, like that might not be a fact in the book, but I'm almost positive that I'm right on that one because it's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. It's good. Yeah. So Marina, she's got her own Under Armour chef hat. It's very cool.
A new identity, multiple identities. Yeah.
Honestly, like Marina is thriving right now, just in terms of like her own basketball. Her brand, we call it her brand, like she's crafting a brand of her own,
right?
As a as a chef connoisseur, so that's great, and I think you're thriving as well. We love to see that. We love to see you happy and smiling. Not too long ago there wasn't a lot of happy and smiling, and there wasn't a lot of basketball, Dara, so we love to see it.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
Yeah. We love to see that you're playing professional basketball, getting buckets. Not good vibes for the Notre Dame women's basketball team, Dara. Listen, they lost to NC State, and we said could be the best thing for them, right? And look, that's not a uncommon sentiment. I don't think that's the sort of thing that people say. They've lost 3 of their last 5. And to be honest, it's not so much that they've lost 3 of their last 5, even though they have. It's the level of play has taken a considerable drop. And that's
the fashion that it's happening in is like, like we're looking at it and like,
even the wins, are kind of like, this doesn't look right,
Like
you know?
grinding out a win instead of just winning by 15 or 20.
Not crisp, you know, and I think they're struggling
Yeah.
with. I think they're just mainly struggling with where are the points coming from? Where are the stops coming from? Where do we need to go with the ball to in these key moments, you know? And I'm just very confused by that. I've been telling people like it's truly like I'll use the word stunning. Like it's stunning to me how they've lost form the way that they have, you know. And there's been a lot of discussion on like the message board, like our message board on Irish Sports Daily's message board about Neil Ivy and the job that she's doing. And I think people are coming at it from the standpoint of like it was always trending this way with this team, and that just wasn't the case. They were the number one team in the country. Not only were they were deserved number one. They had beaten USC, they had beaten UConn, they had beaten Texas. They were steamrolling the ACC, and then they lose a game at NC State, which was one of those games where it's like, you know, NC State played great. It was just their day, and so they won the game. Since then, they have just not looked anything. They haven't looked anything close to the way they looked in the NC State game. So my question to you is, first of all, have you been in a situation where you were on a team that was clicking on all cylinders and then just kind of lost it? Have you been in that situation before?
Yes, but not as dramatic as this one.
Right.
When Olivia and I went down first, like my 5th year with my injury, things started shifting. We lost the vocal, emotional, experienced leader.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we lost our point guard after that. We also lost Lauren Evo at some point in there. She was nursing a lower body injury during that time. And I think we played. Did we lose at home to Duke? We did. We lost at home to Duke. And then we played really bad against Florida State at home, but I think we still got the win. So like I said, like the stats and the win-loss column was not as dramatic as what's going on right now, but it was hard. Like I will not forget that. It was really hard. It's very easy to turn inward and point the other finger when things like this happen on a team.
Yeah.
It's tough emotionally, physically, and mentally, especially with it being March right now.
Yeah. Let me just check this out. I'm looking at this last season. What you got hurt against
UVA. January 23rd.
January 22nd.
22nd. How
Yeah.
did I mess that up? 22nd. Yes, you're right.
Yeah. Then you lost to NC State, lost to Duke, home to Duke at NC State.
We were awful at BC on the road.
Yes.
Yeah,
at BC. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you won 72-59, but like not a great performance there, according to the SRS. Not a great. And then we lost BC
Olivia
team
in March.
Yeah. Yes.
Difficult.
Yeah. Yes. So like, I guess I wonder what the conversations are like in the locker room here. You know, like what are the ladies talking about? What are they communicating to each other in terms of like what you're seeing out there? Like, what do you think those conversations are like, trying to kind of get back to where they were?
It probably starts with reflection and going home and asking yourself, what can I do better for the team? And then once you have that answer, personally, you can come back, and in the locker room, I'm not there, but it should be, what can we do better as a unit? And then we can get into those things, because we chalked up the NC State loss to shot selection and one-on-one defense. And then we saw the exact same thing in Florida State. We lost because of one-on-one defense and rebounding. And then you get to the Duke game, and now it's like, what other answers do we have? Right. Because now I don't know. I obviously can see things as a player, but now it's like, what's going on, because it's a very dramatic effect. There's things like that I can point out tactically that I think are contributing to the loss, because they just don't have that. They don't look like the well-oiled machine that they were 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
They're not like ripping people apart on the defensive end and then running it down in transition and going back and forth like they were against USC, like they were against Texas. Like they just had this fire and this togetherness, and it's missing right now. And I also think that it's due to just, if you ask me who the leader on that team was, I wouldn't be able to tell you, just from being over here and watching. I don't know who the one is to pull them together and say, we need to do this, this, and this, or the one that calms everybody down, or the one that goes and gets the ball in the offense and is like, no, we're doing this right now.
How is that possible, Dara? When you have Maddie, Sony, Olivia, Leah Two's a senior, Liza's a senior. How is that possible?
Mm-hmm. It's a great question, because I think that they probably all have the right intention in wanting to step up and wanting to lead. It just might not be being done the right way.
Yeah.
And maybe sometimes, like, the expression is, if the first, you don't learn the first 3 times, sometimes you need to learn the hard way. Sometimes, I lost you for a second. Sometimes you might need to get on your teammate extra hard. Also during games, I'm not seeing any of them. It's very normal to do this, but sometimes you need to rip your teammate for something. If we're having trouble guarding the ball, and that your teammate is supposed to be in help, I don't see anybody holding each other accountable the way that they should on the court. There's usually the ESPN flashes the huddles every time, and it's just kind of like, okay, this, and there's that. I haven't seen somebody be like, you need to be here and you need to rotate and do this. Like, it looks like they need to hold each other accountable a little bit more, and sometimes it needs to be done the hard way. I'm not saying you have to cuss your teammate out. I have done that before. It's just life. It's just how it goes. And it gets done. But you need more leadership in times like these, and I can't tell where that is on the court. And it's tough. It's hurting them.
I'm just kind of surprised that it's not Maddie. I could just see it being her. I could see her being that type of personality. The problem is like it's kind of like this is all coinciding with like a dip in play from her specifically. And so it's hard to lead from the front when you yourself are not playing to that standard, right? And the other part too is that I look at them and I think it's not just one person, right? It's not like it's Maddie who's not killing it, or it's not like it's not Sony, or like Olivia's level of play has taken a dip. Leah Two's level of play has taken a dip. Maddie's, she didn't score a basket in the last game. She's going to score a point. I mean, it's like she's not getting rebounds. Like her most rebounds in a game is 5 in the last 5 games. She's not hitting the boards. It's just like Olivia's 3-point shooting has kind of regressed to, I guess the mean, right, regression to the mean standard levels for her. She hasn't been a great 3-point shooter. She's still at 40% of the season, but she's sitting there at like 45% for a large bulk of the year. To me, here's the thing. On all the best teams that I've ever watched this is especially true in basketball, right? I think more so than other sports, because there's only 5 on the court. The team sports, that is your stars. They have to be stars, because if they're not, then it's like, then how good are we really? If your best players, the ones who are holding the ball the whole time and taking the most shots, if they're not efficient and they are not playmaking for others, then what is this team? Like, how good are they really? And like, that's the problem is it's one thing to have 5 great players like Notre Dame does, but in crunch time and in meaningful moments, the ball can only go to so many people. And that hierarchy is going to get set by the people who are taking those shots. And right now those shots aren't falling.
Right.
And it's just like I feel like they need their best players to play like their best players. And I feel like the rest of it will kind of follow from there.
The team goes as they go.
Yeah.
Especially the guards. Like the team
Right.
goes as they go. If they don't show up, because like they also, it doesn't discredit anybody else on the court, but the pace that the guards play at and how they get people open shots and draw defenses to make opportunities for other people also hurts when you're taking a contested three with no rebounders. Then that tires out your post player and limits their opportunities. Yeah. So there's a lot that's going on.
So you're talking about shot selection.
Discuss. That's definitely a part of it.
Yeah. And it's been a problem all season for them. I want you to go into, Neil after the Duke game. They lose 61-56. And she's talking about defense being the problem. Mm-hmm. Why is that? Why is she talking about defense? Because I think for some people, they say, well, you only allowed 61 points. I mean, Duke scored a shot 40% from the field. Their top shooter went 3 for 17. So, like, why does she point to defense? I assume it's for a reason, and I'm curious if you can kind of add some insight into why she points to defense in a moment like that.
I think Duke is physical on both ends of the floor. And we have a history of not playing well against them because of this. They're super physical on offense and on defense. But I think the part that she was referring to was we were out-rebounded against Duke. Yeah. They rebounded the ball. Even the last play of the game, like the play that sealed it, that they were going to win, was an offensive rebound. Yeah. They are just running, slashing in, and we're just doing this. That was not okay. And their guards were attacking downhill. And it's like, that Duke's going to do that. They're fast, physical, and athletic guards. And they're long. So it's like, you have to be on your A game. It was just like Florida State. The rebounding and the defense was bad. So I know it said that we only gave up however many points that you said, but we also didn't score that much. Right. Because we weren't getting stops. And we score in transition so much when we get stops. So I know some people are saying, well, Coach Ivy is saying this, and she's 100% correct. It's defense. Of course, it's offense too, but it's defense, and she's right.
Right. Here's a question from Coach Humph. When you were at Notre Dame, how much time was spent working on the half-court offense, and how was the time split between team offense and individual skill development?
Great question. Okay. So when I was there, we worked on the half-court offense a lot, and we would do this drill called perfect offense, and all 5 people had to do the right thing or the possession didn't count. It was a really hard drill because you think that you're doing the right thing, and the smallest things, such as leaking out and getting back too early, would cause it a miss in the drill. So we would, in the beginning of practice, you split up guards and posts and you work on the thing. It's very intentional, and I credit my sister a lot for this. It's part of the reason why she's such a good coach. She would study. Michaela. Yes, she would study a lot of like common schemes and options that the guards, because she's the guards coach, that we would get against the opponent. So, for example, Louisville likes to deny a lot. So she knew that we would get back doors, and we would practice finishes off the back doors in the beginning of practice before we put it together in the 5-on-5. So that is the beginning of practice. And then you come together and you work on things offensively and defensively. And then again, after that, you'll split back into a skill development drill and then go back to 5-on-5. It was a very well-balanced practice when it came to skill development and team offense. And that's why I thought the practices at Notre Dame were very beneficial, because on some teams you can't say that like you're getting better in every single practice, because that's just the way some programs and teams work, and that's just how it is. But I actually enjoyed practicing at Notre Dame a lot because of that reason. It was well-balanced, and we knew we're working on it now, and then you had a chance to put it together in the 5-on-5.
So Sony made a quote comment, gave a quote in response to a question about you and you kind of touched on it before. Like Notre Dame wants to get out and run, this team specifically. They want to get out and transition and score. And Sony said, and again, I give her a little bit of grace here, and I don't want to like aggregate the quote too much because I don't know that she meant it the way that it came out. But she said we don't want to play in the half court. And I think what she means is like we want to get out in transition. It's not that they don't want to play in the half court. It's just like we're deadly in the transition game. It's kind of how
she didn't mean that literally, but we have such an advantage with such fast guards that can get downhill and create plays that why would we want to set up in the half court?
Right. But that being said, they haven't been as good in the half court as a team of the weapons that they have. And not just the weapons, but like the different variety of things they can do in the half court.
Right.
Is like, I don't understand why there's an inefficiency there. And I'm wondering if you could help me out because I feel like they have so many options. Leah too can work in the post.
Right.
You know, Maddie can work in the post. Both of them can get to the elbow. Maddie can get to the elbow and play make from there, or she can step back. She can pop out to the 3-point line and shoot, right? So she can Notre Dame can space the floor in the half court. They can play inside. They can play at the elbows. They can get the ball inside. They can penetrate. They have good shooters. Like, why is there an inefficiency in the half court with this team specifically? Because it just doesn't make sense on paper.
Right. Correct. It does not make any sense on paper when you look at the talent 1 through 5, 6 and 7 coming off the bench that this team has. The shot selection is poor. It leads to other teams' opportunities that already like to go in transition and get downhill. NC State, Florida State, Duke. They go to the other people too late. They go to Sonia too late in the game. Sonia is a really good decision maker. You can set her up for use her as a screen because they can't help off of her. You can get her going downhill and you can put her in positions to make things happen because she can also pass and rebound. I think that they need to go to her early. And it's frustrating to see, like, sometimes it's like Sonia just continues to save the day and she's way too good to just save the day. She should be starting the day. And I think Maddie is still finding her groove a little bit. But again, she's not being helped out when guards are going shot for shot. Olivia and Hannah go shot for shot sometimes. And it's like they're both being aggressive. Like they're probably not even thinking about it. But it's like if someone takes a contested 3 and misses it, probably the next time if you get an O board, you should pull it out after that. I don't think that they've been balancing each other well enough recently. And if you look at like the games that they did balance each other when they're finding each other and taking good shots, the offense looks great. And I don't think that has been the case recently. And just reading the room, if your 3-point shot is not falling, look at all the other weapons and find a way that you can make someone better or get an easier shot for yourself. Every time Liv drove downhill against Duke, something good happened. She either got fouled or gave somebody an opportunity. But instead, it's like contested 3s with no rebounders lead to long rebounds and Duke transition points. And it was hard to watch because it's like the answers were right there. And then they just chose to continue to make those decisions on offense. And I also don't think in that Duke game specifically, Sonia was aggressive enough. She, I think, can use her length and her height to her advantage. Duke has good defenders, right? But I thought a lot of times she was getting downhill and she could have just stopped and shot the pull-up, but she was picking up her dribble in the paint and then looking for post entries like 4 or 5 feet away where Leah 2 and Maddie weren't in good positions. So I think that she just needs to be a little bit more aggressive, and that also comes with finding shots for her early. And Maddie, no matter what kind of groove she's in, is going to be guarded really tight because she's still really good. But I think that she can find easier shots for herself that aren't always going away from the basket and use her upper body strength, her length, and her size to her advantage and get her some more posts closer to the basket to start, especially because she's still finding her groove. Get her an easy one down low where maybe she can just get a layup or get fouled and then move her out a little bit.
Yeah.
Because her and Leah too can just literally go like this, tandem, rubber band. They're so versatile. So yeah, that's some of my expertise.
It feels like it's difficult because when the offense was clicking and clicking by way of going through Hannah and Olivia, it's like then everyone understands kind of where that's all coming from, right? And where their points
because the team goes as they go.
Right. What you're talking about now is okay, we there's actually other ways that the offense can be made to work going through other players, but how do they then make that decision that it's like, okay, it is not going to be me, even though they probably feel like it could still, right? Like, I don't think either of them goes into a game being like, I'm going to not play well today, or I'm not going to shoot well today, or I'm not going to be aggressive. Like, I think that's the difficult part of basketball sometimes. And frankly, this is kind of what I thought would be the case early in the year when they were trying to figure out how it was going to all work. Is like, you have so many ways to win, but you can't choose all of them at the same time. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's kind of where they're at right now. Is like they need to they need to choose another way they're going to win the games, but they're having trouble getting to that point. It's just kind of my observation there. Coach Humph with another question.
Coach Humph.
Coach is a basketball. He's a basketball guy, it sounds like, because these questions are very they're very basketball specific. So the first one, there's two questions, they kind of feed off of each other. First one is like, you're not there now, so he's throwing that out, that caveat. How much emphasis was placed on transition when you were there compared to now? So
the
same amount of transition. Okay. So his question is then, when in transition, if the transition does not result in a basket or a shot, how does Notre Dame then transition into their half-court offense? Is there a set play off of transition, or does a play get called out from the bench at that point?
That's a really good question. Okay. It is a read-based offense, just like you said. So you can call it like the transition is the primary, and then our secondary is right into our old-fashioned Notre Dame Princeton offense. It's been run for years. Obviously, we know starts with an elbow entry, and then the guard decides. There's a million options out of it, and it's all read-based. But that's a good point that you pointed out, because it's like bread and butter. You have so many options. You can just go right to your bread and butter if something doesn't work out. We do at the same time run a lot of sets, depending on what advantages we have. But sets, I would say, could have been utilized more because there was not a lot of offensive flow in these past 3 losses. A set as in, maybe it's one where Sonia's getting a pin down from Maddie. I know they did run that for her against Duke, and she flared off of it and hit an open 3. Perfect. Or when you want to slow something down and run something specific, we could run a set. Or we could also go to our chin offense, which is just continuous and has, again, a million options out of it, read base. So I don't think that the play calling is the issue. I think it's reading the room. If you and I'm probably could cross my heart knowing that the coaches are telling them, you have to take a better shot, you have to take a better shot. So you just have to have the awareness as point guards on what's happening. If you miss a 3 or your 3's not falling, get something easier. Go downhill. I saw my sister on the TV telling them, go downhill, go downhill. And then we take another 3, 4 feet behind the line and wonder why we can't get any flow offensively.
Yeah. How how difficult is it for Neil in a situation like this where everything's kind of clicking and then in like a very short span, it stops clicking, and
It's tough.
like, because, again, it's hard not to be critical. Like, you look at just the bare bones of it. Like, this is as talented a roster as Notre Dame has had in a very long time, and for me, I look at it like, well, for the majority of this season, they've been playing to that talent. Like, they were one of the best offenses in college basketball. They were one of the best defenses in college basketball. Like, they had everything clicking for them. So they were playing to the talent. 2 weeks ago, as of, February 23rd, no one is saying anything about Notre Dame underachieving at all, right? Like,
Right.
That's not even a thought. They're the number one team in the nation. They deservedly so. They are a shoe-in for the number one seed. They may not even be a 2 seed now. And it all happened very quickly, and because of that, because it happened quickly, you don't have a ton of time to kind of correct these problems. You know what I mean?
Right. You can't make drastic changes.
Right. There's not a ton of practice time. Like, so right. What is the message there? Because, again, Sony said it. One more loss and the season's over. They're done. Can't lose again.
Yeah.
So what is the message? How do they kind of correct this in a very short period of time? I mean, there's a lot of urgency at this point.
Right. When I was there and we would go through some adversity or have ups and downs, maybe 2 losses, she would always make this reference and say, let's get back to us. And I would imagine she's literally not sleeping at night thinking, what on earth can I do to reverse this? Because that's just the type of coach she is. She's always looking for ways. But I think get back to the main principles that always work for them. So get back to rim running really hard and early post, and get back to old school boxing out drills, rebounding drills, playing physical with the practice guys in practice, and just getting back to the principles that make Notre Dame women's basketball who it is. And that's running fast and playing defense and playing like a team. But I would also imagine that right now she's having conversations with her upperclassmen, her seniors, and who they consider leaders to step up, because March is a different season. It is a different ball game. As we know, the craziest things happen in March, but people play so much harder in March. It's crazy. And it doesn't discredit everything that everyone's done before the postseason, but you can tell it's a different feel. It's really hard, and it's just a completely different ball game. So there's probably going to be a lot of correcting being done, probably some tough practices, but I trust and she knows exactly what she's doing moving forward. So hopefully they can turn it around, because I still think it's unbelievable that NC State, Florida State, Duke, and yet you still have another chance to do something historic.
Yeah.
So hopefully they take the opportunity, especially the people I just can't stop thinking about are the seniors.
Yeah.
I cannot stop thinking about what is happening to them right now and what they're going through. Their last time playing college basketball, they deserve a better memory going out.
Yeah. Coach Humph with another question, Dara. Another good question. I've noticed decidedly more ball screens for Olivia or Hannah and less screening away from the ball. How is that determined? Is that part of the freedom Coach Ivy says she wants to give her guards?
I don't think that's part of the freedom that she's referring to. I think that when she says freedom, she trusts in the fact that if we're going to attack or we're going to break a play, that we're going to make something good out of it. And she knows that we have really good one-on-one downhill guards who can also shoot the ball. So I think that that's what she's referring to when she says that. But I also think that more ball screens are coming from the lack of options that we're getting in the offense. So ball screens is like a lot of times, as you know, I'm assuming you're a coach, you know that if it hits the fan, for lack of better words, you can just call a ball screen and that's it. And a ball screen is usually how every end of shot clock ends, unless it's like a quick hitter into the post. So I think that the amount of ball screens that you're seeing are because of lack of options and opportunity that we're actually looking for in the offense, because it's just the default and the secondary option if all else fails.
Yeah. I've something I think about a lot in regards to sports and like struggling and things like that is there's this movie called the greatest game ever played. It's about a golfer. It's about a golfer from like the 1900s. Anyway, it's a amateur golfer playing in the US Open for the first time, and like super underdog story. Anyway, he's struggling during the round of golf, and he looks at his little caddy, and he's like, "Man, what do I do?" And the caddy looks at him. He's like, "You're just gonna have to play better." And I think about that sometimes. Is like we talk about X's and O's and this, that, and the other thing. It's like maybe just play better, you know? And how much of that is it with this team where it's like you have all the tools, we have proof of concept because we went on a 19 game winning streak, you know, we were 27-2 or whatever it was, and we know that we can do this. We know what our ability is, but you do have to go do it, right? The game isn't played on paper. You're going to have to go out and play better, right? The talent is too much for us to play this way. How much of it is that? Just simply, look, obviously they're working on things in practice. She's not going to go into practice and say, you're going to have to be better, right? The coaches have things to work on. The coaches have adjustments to make with the players and things of that nature. But how much of it is simply, you're just going to have to play to your level? You know, it's like on you guys.
I would say 75% of it is that. I mean, they're not even playing like themselves. They're not even like being aggressive, going downhill like they normally are, playing with fire, playing like it's the ACC semifinal. They looked like they were playing not to lose instead of playing to win. It's a really, really big difference, and it's really contagious. It's really contagious. I can see it so easily. And that's just what it is. Like, you just have to be better. You can't like come in and, like I said, I answered this before, as I would imagine, you know, obviously she can't just come in and say, you just have to be better.
Right.
Yes, like it might make sense to some of the experienced leaders, but when you lead a group like that, that's a little too complex to move forward and make changes. So that's just what it is. You have to come in the game and you have to perform. There's no other reason why you should shy away from the moment. You just have to come in and show up and do what you've been doing that yourself and everyone else knows that you're capable of. It's just what it is. You have to be better. It sounds it's very simplified, but because after 3 losses like that, it's like, okay, now what is it really? And you can't sit there trying to figure it out. We could do this, this, and this, and have team meetings, and I can be better at this and do that. No, just show up and play hard.
Yeah. Let's talk about their best selves for a second. Going into the tournament, when Notre Dame is their best self, who concerns you the most? That's in the field, right? Not necessarily like who scares you, whatever. Like who do you look at and you say to yourself like that? Even if Notre Dame plays the best as well as they can, who do you kind of look at? South Carolina. Okay. Is anybody else kind of on that list? I think that's like one of the top teams. I mean, they haven't played UCLA yet. They've played UConn. They've played USC, obviously. You know, of the top teams, you know, those are. I mean, obviously. I mean, I think NC State is they're just that way against Notre Dame, right? So I mean, I think they're kind of always on there, but I think
I know UConn's record against the top teams this year wouldn't say it, but with Paige Beckers as a senior and all the championship experience that Coach Gino has, I definitely count them into, like, because they're UConn and they deserve their flowers of me saying that. Like, I think that they definitely contend in that category.
Yeah, Hannah likes playing them though.
I know, she sure does.
She likes playing them. She does.
I know.
And the good thing is, like, if they were to face USC, is there's history there, positive history, good history, right?
Right.
And I think, I think that for whatever reason, they got into a mindset of when they lost to NC State, they got into this mindset of, we don't want to blow this. I feel like it got to that where we're going to blow it kind of thing, as opposed to we're going to go get it.
Right.
For whatever reason, it just made them skittish. And like you talked about before, it's like they're playing not to lose. I think they were afraid of losing something rather than going and gaining something. And, who knows why that is, right?
Right.
These things can kind of turn on a whim. And if they beat NC State in that overtime game, maybe none of this happens, right? Like maybe none of this even takes place, right? And it did. And so they have to rebound from it. But I just think that maybe getting back into the tournament, hopefully they can lose. They can kind of get back that, like, we're going to actually go get this. We have something to prove. We're going to go get this, instead of, reaching number one and being like, okay, we have to kind of hang on, or we have to prove ourselves or whatever. And maybe that just wasn't the best thing for them.
Agreed.
Okay. I know you struggle. I know you struggle with it. It's very difficult. I know you're very invested in this team.
I know.
I know you have so many close friends on the team. I know Sony is your bestie. I know Maddie's your bestie. I hate seeing Maddie like this. I know. I just like what's going on? Like I that's why I'm so discombobulated about the whole thing, is because I just never imagined ever watching a game that mattered and being like, I think they need to get Maddie off the court. And like, that's kind of where it was. And I don't even know what to say about that. And I don't even like thinking that. Like, it makes me uncomfortable that I was thinking it. Just being honest, though, like, I did think it. Like, I think they got to get her out of there. They got to go with Liza. She's playing better. And I don't know what to – that's just true, And I hope she finds it, because to your point, like, Maddie deserves better than that. She deserves for herself, right? She's in control of this now. She has agency. This isn't something that's being done to her. She can go. Correct. She can go get it. I hope she does, because I think she deserves more than that. And Sony specifically, I think she is so soft spoken. But we know what it means to her. We know it means the world to her, and so hopefully, she can rebound as the rest of the ladies can. Selection Sunday is Sunday at, I think it's at 8 Eastern time, if I got that right. Which is unhinged. I don't like that. I was thinking maybe we should do a live show during
it's always at
Sunday.
8. No, I play that day.
It's also the middle of the night for you. You can't you play that
8,
day,
9,
but it's
10,
it's also
1 a.m.
1 a.m. Like you can't do that. So I was like, all right, that's not gonna work. So but like we'll be tuned in for that, and we'll be back next week with analysis on where Notre Dame lands in the bracket and what their path is and that sort of thing going forward. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. It was a fun show, live show. We don't usually do that, but I enjoyed it very much. Thank you, Coach Hunt, for the questions. It was really good questions. We've got a basketball coach in the chat. It's good stuff. All right. We'll be back next week talking Notre Dame women's basketball. So you're going to hit the like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. So whatever it is, we are going live or releasing a video. We'll talk to you next week. And in the meantime, what are we going to do, Dara?
Keep getting buckets.
All right.